Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Bob Beckel, Eric Bowling, Dana Perino, and Andrea Tanteros. It's 5 o'clock in New York City. This is The Five. We begin tonight with Planned Parenthood's new push to sway the 2012 election, just as a disturbing new undercover video surfaces from inside one of its clinics. Now, the pro-abortion group's political arm endorsed President Obama today and put out this ad as part of a campaign to brand Mitt Romney as being anti-woman.
When Romney says,
"Do I believe Supreme Court should overturn Roe v. Wade?" Yes.
He's saying he'll deny women the right to make their own medical decisions. And when his campaign can't say whether he'd support equal pay protections,
and we'll get back to you on that.
Romney's putting your paycheck at risk. Planned Parenthood Action Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising because Mitt Romney is out of touch and wrong for women.
Meanwhile, take a look at this new video shot by pro-life group Live Action at a Planned Parenthood clinic showing a counselor advising a woman on gender-selective abortions, terminating the pregnancy if it's a girl and not a boy.
I see that you say that you want to terminate if it's a girl, so are you just wanting to continue the pregnancy in the meantime, or what?
Yeah, I think that would be the plan.
I've had 2 abortions and I have 4 kids.
Okay, so all right.
So I mean, again, from experience, no,
okay.
There's nothing wrong with being pregnant immediately.
Okay.
Right after.
All right. So then I'd want to schedule, try to schedule an ultrasound with an OB around then, and then I would still be able to come back here for a termination if it was a girl.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And I hope that you do get your boy.
Well, no surprise, Planned Parenthood has fired this particular employee. But this isn't the first time that something controversial has been uncovered at one of their clinics. So let's start with the politics this evening. Bob, does it help or does it hurt President Obama to be associated with a group like this and get their endorsement?
Well, first of all, you sure we don't have any more of that ad on the undercover ad? Because we want to be sure we cover all that.
Yeah, sorry, we're fresh out.
The answer is absolutely it does. And let's try to put Planned Parenthood in some context here. Only 3% of their activity is abortions. Most of their activity has to do with cervical cancer detection and breast cancer detection. There literally are millions of women walking around this country today who are alive because of Planned Parenthood. A number of children in prenatal care and in their first weeks of life have been healthy because of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood spends 3% and no federal money goes for abortion. So all this stuff, when Mitt Romney says these things, he's digging himself a deeper hole because people go and get cervical and breast cancer are very, very important, and that's what Planned Parenthood does, mostly.
Well, Bob, once again, you have raised not only the eyebrows at this table, but eyebrows across America.
Why is that?
Well, we're going to go around, and we're going to get everybody's take on this. Eric, we'll start with you.
I don't know how in the world you can say taxpayer money didn't go to abortions when a big part of what Planned Parenthood does is abortions.
No, 3%, Eric.
Bob,
3%.
3% based on what? The amount of time it takes to abort a child? Or based on what?
3% of the money the Planned Parenthood has.
Planned Parenthood, here are the numbers. Here are the facts. The Planned Parenthood gets somewhere near $500 million of taxpayer support.
Right.
They offer, now we find out they're willing to maybe even break the law in some states. There are 4 states that say it's illegal to offer abortions based on gender. There's 46 that say no. Now maybe they're breaking the law. And then now they're willing to spend our money, $1.4 million of our money, attacking Mitt Romney on his stance on abortion. I mean, none of this is floating in my boat.
I'm going to try to attack you with a smile today and tell you that that is the political action arm of that committee, and they can do that as well as Karl Rove's committee can do it, or anybody else's committee, number one.
How much funding does Karl Rove get from the government? How much money does Karl Rove's group get from the government?
None.
Right, that's the difference.
There is a law of the land that was passed by Congress that said no money for Planned Parenthood goes for abortions, period. End of story. That's what it says.
But how do you know, Bob? How can you prove that?
Look at the law. I mean, look at the law.
Okay, but how can you actually ensure that those dollars, I get it, the Hyde Amendment, that's what prevents the money going there, but how can you really be sure that that $500 million is not used for the more than 3%?
487.4 million.
I happen to think that that's where their audits, they've had audits, and that's where 3% goes.
Okay, Eric, finish up.
Over 300,000 abortions last year by Planned Parenthood. 47% of their funding comes from government support. How in the world do you say it's 3% and there's no money coming from the government?
Have you ever heard of the Hyde Amendment?
Of course, I don't, Bob. That's like me saying, if I give you $100 and you go spend $70 over there, that means I didn't buy drugs. I haven't supported your drug.
Have you heard of the Hyde Amendment?
Yes, having the other funds allows you to do things like pay your lease or whatever it might be.
Right.
So there is a line that was drawn, partly because of the Hyde Amendment, and then others, including for stem cell debates and others, which is that federal taxpayer dollars should not have to be attributed or go to anything that would deal with a pro-life issue. And that is a line that I think is worth keeping. Planned Parenthood has shown that it has the will and the mettle and the ability to raise a lot of money.
Sure do.
And to waste a lot of money on ads like that. And they have got to get somebody with a better voice for that commercial, or else they are going to drive everybody
But
crazy.
you accept the fact that they do cervical cancer tests and a lot of breast cancer.
Nobody here at the table has said that. But I think Eric is right to say that we can't say that none of that money goes to help support Planned Parenthood, because it's part of the overall fund, so that you don't have to divert monies that you raise from this to pay for that. And family planning is an important thing. But I do think there could be a line drawn, and it should be maintained between federal taxpayer dollars going to pay for something that I disagree with.
At least their PAC is consistent 100% to
and
only
by the way, the PAC
Democratic
that
candidates.
put this together, everybody can ask their employees to contribute to a PAC.
Right.
It happens across America, and they're using that money in their political action committee.
That's true.
Yeah,
It is
partisan
legal.
group.
Of course, it's legal.
There's nothing illegal there, but just so we know
Well,
where they stand.
but we don't want it. We don't want to leave anybody with the impression. Is my smile working? With the impression that somehow Planned Parenthood is an abortion organization. 97%
But that's
of its
largely
money goes for helping children and mothers.
what it's known for. You do know that in schools across America.
And
that's in my high school. That's how it was branded. And if I could actually jump in here, Bob, could I get a word in?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Practice your smile, Bob. Andrea.
Smile a little bit there, Bob. Give me a smile. Yeah.
I'm doing my best.
The politics of this, trying to paint Mitt Romney as being anti-women, I think it's just not a plausible line of attack on this Planned Parenthood stuff.
Yeah.
And if you look at the primary fight, you can't really have it both ways. I mean, he was being attacked by blogs like redstate.org for supporting Planned Parenthood, for expanding their rights when he was governor of Massachusetts, for having them sit on the board of Romney Care. You can't, that's almost one of the benefits of having somebody who was labeled as a squishy moderate in the past. It's just to say that he doesn't like women is such a stretch, and it's not working politically either. It's backfiring.
By calling for the abolition of Planned Parenthood that you're...
No one said that.
No one said
No
that.
saying that.
It's the federal funding. It's almost, you can make the same case for NPR, and we do.
Excuse me, I was talking about what Mitt Romney said, and if that's the case, then there are lots of women who will be walking around not detecting breast and cervical cancer.
That is absurd. That's what they said about the Komen Foundation as well. That is not true, Bob.
What do you mean it's not true? They have hundreds of thousands of tests.
Oh, but you know what we have now? We have Obamacare, so then everybody will be able to get their tests for
Planned
free.
Parenthood does it or does it not do breast and cervical cancer?
That's not the main thing that they do.
It is the main thing they do.
It is not. Breast and cervical cancer is not the main thing that they do. That was proven in the...
It's really not. But can we talk about the video, Eric? I want to bring you in on this, the live action video.
Come up with these facts.
You know what it is,
Bob, ponder that for a moment.
Let me just ask. I don't know this. Maybe you can help us here at the table. If you were to go to a doctor and have an abortion, how much would that cost? I have no idea. How much would it cost?
I have no idea.
No
$2,000,
clue.
$1,000,
$450 to $700.
All right, let's say it's $500. If there's 325,000 of them, right? Mm-hmm. $500. I don't know, $150, $200 million, $200 million, Bob. The budget is $1 billion.
The budget's
$500 million comes from government funding.
That's right, and that $500 million by law is not allowed to be used for abortion.
And I'll tell you, this is all done to win women voters. And I'll tell you what women don't like.
If Romney had made any sense, he would never have said that. But he did it because the right wing was challenging him, and he went in the tank once more.
And I want to talk about this video because I think it's significant in terms of what Live Action was able to uncover. Dana, I'll start with you and go to Andrea on this. You know, in this video, they're literally supporting gender selection, abortion, saying, counseling someone, do not tell your OBGYN this because at 5 months, the fetus is pretty much everything is developed, including the brain, and they're going to pass judgment on you.
So 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Gallup put out a poll regarding social issues, and one of the things it found was that likely voters, for the first time ever, it was a low, I shouldn't say ever, but for the first time in many decades, the number of people that said that they were pro-choice was only 41%. That number has gone down significantly. I think that's partly because of technological advances, and also the religious right from sort of the 70s and then way into the 80s, making a strong case, and also changing their tack to talk more about with a caring tone, I guess might be the better way to put it. The thing is about that these undercover videos show is that anytime they happen, then the organization always says, oh, well, that is an isolated case.
Sure.
I'm surprised that they fired her as quickly as they did, though, because remember in the previous stuff, they waited until there was too much pressure.
Go ahead.
So I'm curious. So we defunded Acorn because there were some issues that were going on, voter fraud, et cetera. So we defunded them congressionally. Why can't we do the same thing? This is the exact same thing.
Eric, I've said this at the beginning of the show, and I'll say it again. Please read the Hyde Amendment, okay?
I said defund them, Bob.
These are not videos. The plural is wrong. It is a video.
No, I'm talking about undercover videos.
It should never have happened.
What Romney said, Bob, what Romney said, and you keep taking his words out of context, was he said, we're going to get rid of it. That means the federal funding. It is not Planned Parenthood. I'll tell you something. This is all done to win the women's vote. If there's one thing women don't like, it's being assumed that we're stupid, but it's liars.
Yeah,
and that's why politically the new ABC poll out shows that Romney is actually gaining by double digits with women than President Obama is.
There are lots of Planned Parenthood clinics in this country. This is one video shot in one place, and the person was fired. And it is a bad idea to do gender selection. I can't agree with you more. And I'm glad to see the Planned Parenthood move very quickly to do that. A lot of other organizations would not have moved as quickly.
You'd think that you were in Beijing from that video, honestly. You want to talk hostile to women? You counsel a woman to abort her baby. That's emotionally hostile.
Are you suggesting a broad brush here that all Planned Parenthood does that?
I think there would probably be more videos.
That is an absolute slanderous statement.
If you dug deep.
That is a slanderous statement.
How about
it's not a slanderous statement.
Yes, it is.
I bet if you dug a little bit deeper, you could find some more unsavory behavior.
Listen, I just don't want my taxpayer money funding organizations that have been proven now to be dealing in gender selection, among other things that may be questionable, and certainly against my personal beliefs.
Okay. We've got to go, but obviously this is a hotly contested issue, and now we're seeing, as Andrea mentioned, the impact and what's happening in terms of the polling with women. Highest favorability rating so far for Romney. Let's see if he can maintain it. But come out, President Obama has taken several victory laps for killing bin Laden. But why isn't he standing up for the Pakistani doctor who helped us hunt him down? Shakil Afridi will be locked up in a Pakistani prison right now for the next 33 years. Does he deserve more from this administration? That's next on The Five. Stay with us.